The movie starts with Akina and her boyfriend Yuma, who are seen standing in front of a telephone booth late at night. They want to investigate the rumors surrounding a place called the Howling Village. This place is known as one of Japan's scariest spots, according to local folklore. Every night at 2 in the morning, a call comes from the phone booth near the Red Bridge in Inanaki Village, and if someone answers it, a path is created through the tunnel next to the bridge in a miraculous way. However, there is no record of such a place as the Howling Village in the official history of Japan, and thus this story has become one of the most popular cursed urban legends worldwide. Many online content creators and ghost catchers try to make content about this place, but many have been lost or even perished trying to uncover the mystery of the village. Therefore, now Akina and Yuma have come to attempt to reveal this secret once and for all. Akina looks at her phone and reveals to the camera that it has just turned 2. When the phone does not ring, she thinks aloud that it might just be a fake story, but a few moments later, the line starts ringing. Despite Yuma's attempts to make her forget this whole endeavor and go back, Akina answers it. She is unable to hear anyone from the other side of the call. Instead, there are sounds like water flowing. She hands Yuma the phone, but he also can't hear anyone. After a while of no one initiating conversation from the other side, Akina says that they will be right there and hangs up the call. She gets out of the phone booth and starts walking down the tunnel. Akina assumes that, according to the legends, they should be able to get into the Howling Village now that they have attended the phone call. Despite Yuma's protests, Akina quickly begins to move through the tunnel. All the while, Yuma is taking pictures and recording with a camera, while Akina takes the lead and makes fun of the haunted place. They eventually arrive at the end of the tunnel and are surprised to see an abandoned red board with an inscription that reads, "From this point forward, the Constitution and laws of Japan do not apply here." They inspect the board for a while, and then Akina, now all excited about her adventure, continues going forward. Yuma keeps getting creeped out by the dark place, and he continues begging Akina to pull back. His girlfriend, though, is determined to continue. Akina keeps going on and suddenly comes across several houses. Excited with adrenaline pumping, she turns towards the camera and announces that they have finally found the Howling Village. They come upon several outdated and abandoned homes. Akina finds an outhouse and tells Yuma to stop recording. She needs to relieve herself, so she tells him to go to the other side. Yuma grumbles a bit and moves to the side with his flashlight. After looking around randomly, Yuma comes across an eerie shed with a torn cloth that covers the entrance. He sees a cage out of the blue and gets scared of the setting. Breathing heavily, Yuma gets close to the cage. He is shocked to see no animals. There are only the skeletal remains of a deceased dog, with blood all over the place. An odd and creepy setting that makes Yuma's blood run cold. On the other side, Akina finishes her business and washes her hands with water from a bottle. After drying her hands, she turns around to open the door when she hears strange scratching sounds coming from the other side. Thinking it is Yuma, Akina scolds him, telling him to stop it. When she moves her hand to open the door again, the scratching sounds start again, with a strange growling that makes Akina stop in her tracks. Suddenly, the door starts banging, with strange animalistic growls and inhuman noises coming from the other side. Fear-stricken and gasping, Akina moves backward and hits the metal bars that cover the other side. Outside the door, she can still hear some sounds that scare the hell out of her. Suddenly, a few hands attempt to grab Akina from behind and attack her. She shrieks, trying to get free. On the other side, Yuma finds a mirror with writing inscribed on it. The writing talks about some Chikushi electrics of 1949. He rubs the mirror clean and picks it up. When he looks closely, he notices a strange hand dangling from above behind him through the mirror. With a shock, he throws away the mirror and looks back to find nothing there. Suddenly, he hears Akina shouting and quickly runs toward his girlfriend. He comes running to discover Akina emerging out of the outhouse in terror. She falls down and Yuma goes to her side, but she shoves him aside and runs away. Yuma also feels immense sinister energy from that place, and he is alarmed. He runs after Akina and tries again to grab her. She calms down a bit, but then slowly she looks behind Yuma and with an ear-splitting scream pushes him back and starts running out through the tunnel. Yuma is greatly concerned and afraid for his girlfriend and runs out after her as quickly as possible. The next scene features a psychiatrist named Kanade. She is taking a session with a little boy named Ryotaro. The boy seems to have problems seeing some unknown entity. Kanade asks the boy, but he keeps quiet. His mother sits behind him, and she tells her that he keeps moaning in pain during his sleep each night. Ryotaro has been silent and depressed for many days. He is not conversing with anyone. Ryo has experienced a number of terrifying dreams in recent days and wakes up terrified. When his parents ask him, he does not tell them anything and remains quiet. They therefore chose to speak with a psychiatrist. The nurse standing by the doctor's side asks the boy's mother to go into another room to talk. All but two exit the room because Kanade wants to speak with Ryo alone. During this session, Ryo tells Kanade that he has been seeing a spirit for the past few days. He abruptly points to one side of the room, and Kanade becomes scared. He calls the spirit Mama and tells Kanade that she should keep his secret and not tell his mother because she would become sad. The session ends, and the mother and son prepare to leave the hospital. While in the lift, Ryo's mother tells him to say goodbye to the doctor. When he waves goodbye, Kanade notices that he is looking behind her and not at her. She slowly looks back and sees the ghost of a woman standing right behind her. She gets a fright, but does not run or get extremely scared. She just notes the happening and ignores the ghost. It turns out that Kanade has been a special child since she was born, and she is able to see spirits. Her phone suddenly rings, and we see Yuma calling her. The scene turns to the Morita household, where we see a couple performing a religious ritual. The woman stands up and goes to shut the door. Outside, Yuma sits with a melancholic expression. As she is closing the door, Kanade arrives. Turns out, the couple are the parents of Yuma, Kanade, and another younger boy named Kota. The woman shuts the door and goes to sit behind her husband inside the room. Yuma tells Kanade about Akina's strange condition. He tells her that since they came back from the howling tunnel, she has been acting strangely. She does not listen and keeps singing a strange song. Inside, his father listens to their conversation. Yuma tells Kanade that they went to the howling tunnel upon Akina's insistence. Suddenly, their younger sibling comes running. After he hears the name of the howling tunnel, he is on to know that Yuma went there, and tells Kanade about its reputation of being the most haunted place on Earth. After the incident, she has been showing mental instability. She draws a lot of strange things, laughs out of the blue, and repeats the same strange tune over and over again. Listening to this, their father barges out of the room and gets angry at Yuma. He tells Yuma off, saying that he should not lead his younger brother astray. Kota goes away after hearing his father, and Yuma also angrily storms off. Kanade tries to reason with her father to stop him from getting angry at them, but instead receives a few harsh words herself and keeps quiet. Their father storms off after telling their mother that his children have her tainted blood. On the other side, Kanade runs towards Yuma and continues inquiring about Akina. He tells her to come and look at Akina herself, as she is here. They go to Yuma's room, where Akina is singing and drawing. Kanade sees the cuts and bruises on her entire body, and immediately gets alarmed. She quickly moves to Akina's side and asks if she is okay. The girl moves away from her and smiles creepily, saying that she is fine. She looks abnormal and acts as if she is not mentally there with them. Akina talks strangely, and says things that both Yuma and Kanade are clueless about. She says that she saw the dogs there. What's even creepier is that she keeps saying all these things with an unwavering smile on her face. Suddenly, she gets up and goes out, saying that she needs to use the washroom. As she goes, Yuma comes to sit beside Kanade, who tells him her diagnosis, but he ignores it and asks her how she also saw things when she was a kid. Kanade tells him off. Yuma is extremely worried about his girlfriend and wishes for her to be okay as soon as possible. Since Akina started acting strangely following the incidents in the Howling Village, Yuma believes that the Howling Village curse is the primary cause of Akina's strange behavior. In another room, Kota sits hidden in a corner. He has secretly taken the camera that Yuma took to record their visit. Kota has chosen the Howling Village for his school project since it fascinates him. Thus, he wants to know more about Howling Village. He opens the camera and starts watching the tape, but stops abruptly when he hears singing from outside. He rushes to the window and sees Akina outside in a horrendous situation. He runs and informs Yuma and Kanade that Akina must be out of her mind since she is walking and wetting her pants outside. Both Yuma and Kanade are horrified after hearing the news and run outside to find her. Yuma calls Akina, and she picks up, saying that it is time. When Yuma hears her voice coming from nearby, he looks up and sees her body fall to the ground, and now lies there lifeless after throwing up water before the speechless trio. The following day, a heartbroken Yuma goes to Akina's funeral, where Akina's father attacks him and accuses him of his daughter's demise. Akina's father calls Yuma's father names and tells him off. Akina's grandfather comes and apologizes to Mr. Morita and takes away his son. In the background, a man watches everything happen. Later, he comes to greet Mr. Morita. Turns out, he is Dr. Yamanobe, who performed Akina's autopsy. He is quite well acquainted with Mr. Morita and tells him that Akina's demise, according to his autopsy, was due to drowning and it did not occur due to falling from a high place. The two men talk in a corner mysteriously, and Mr. Morita says that it is fortunate that he was the one who did the autopsy and not anyone else. It seems as though they are hiding something. The doctor warns Mr. Morita of his daughter Kanade, saying that she senses things, so he should be careful. Saying that, he gets up and after greeting an incoming Kanade, goes away. As he passes by her, Kanade senses the faint sound of dog murderers. Poor Yuma goes off back home after a stressful day. He picks up Akina's bloody shirt in his room and mourns over it, when he suddenly finds a card in her things. Turns out his late girlfriend was pregnant with their baby. Yuma, now overcome with rage for both his girlfriend's passing and his unborn baby's demise, decides to go back to the haunted place and seal the tunnel so that in the future no one can go to the village and get hurt. Kanade comes back home and finds Kota in his room. As she talks about the Howling Village, Kota sadly says that he would stop working on the project and picks up a hammer to destroy his model, but she stops him. They uncover the model, and Kanade is shocked to see how hard Kota has worked. Seeing his dedication, Kanade tells him to continue with the project and says that he will be all right. Kota becomes excited, and when he overhears Yuma calling some of his friends to go to the tunnel, he sneaks into their car. Left alone in the room, Kanade feels someone standing behind her, but sees no one when she turns to look around. Back in the car, Yuma and his friends arrive at the tunnel and get out of the car to get their things, but they are shocked to see that the tunnel has already been sealed. Yuma is shocked too, because he knew the tunnel was open when they came the last time. His friends try to tell him to go back, but he gets angry at them, and a fight breaks out. Afterward, he decides to go inside the tunnel alone and find whatever it was that made Akina go mad, in order to take revenge. Meanwhile, Kota hides in the back of Yuma's car and gives one of his friends a fright, who runs away. Back in the hospital, we see Kanade, who keeps seeing the ghost of a woman around Ryo. She is approached by a doctor on her shift, who tells her that she has someone waiting in the room who wants to talk to her. Going there, she finds Ryo's father, who tells her that Ryo is not their biological son, but adopted. Neither his wife nor Ryo knows this, according to him, but Kanade remembers Ryo telling her about a ghost, whom he calls Mama. Ryo's father begs her not to tell anyone, and she agrees. When she comes out to meet Ryo, she senses the woman standing beside him, and her whole body turns alert. Ryo looks at her scared form, and softly tells her not to get scared of Mama. She slowly looks up at the ghost, and finally is unable to ignore it anymore. She shouts at it to stop, and everyone warily watches her. She looks around and immediately regrets her actions. Kanade then apologizes. Back near the tunnel, we see Kota coming out of the car with the camera that he brought. As he nears the now sealed tunnel, he sees a flashlight from inside and hears strange noises. Coming nearer, she finds that the one shouting from inside is Yuma. He calls his brother, who is manically trying to take revenge on his girlfriend's slayer. He calls out the entity to attack him and come for him, just like how it attacked Akina. Kota mounts the blocks that seal the tunnel and calls his brother, who immediately spins around and scolds him for coming. He tells Kota to remain outside. Kota accidentally drops his flashlight, and Yuma runs to aid him, but then he feels strange voices and spirits surround him. Kota is also sucked inside the tunnel, and the spirits take both the brothers inside, while chanting about sealing away the dogs with the young girls over and over again. Yuma's friends go back to tell his parents about what happened. Mr. Morita calls the police, and they all return to the front of the tunnel. They find Kota's hand camera. They find out that both Yuma and Kota are inside the tunnel, and something terrible has happened to them. But the situation is so complicated that the police fear entering the tunnel. Yuma's mother tries hard to enter the tunnel, but the police stop her too. In the middle of this, Yuma's mother, desperate for her children, turns mad and starts to attack everyone who tries to stop her. She emits a beastly growl and bites her husband's arm, causing him to bleed. After that, she looks at her daughter's scared expression and immediately comes to her senses, as if she has been transformed. Kanade once again feels the presence of someone beside her, but when she looks back, it is gone. Kanade comes back to the hospital and finds that Dr. Yamanobe, who performed the autopsy of Akina, has been admitted to the hospital in critical condition. It seems as though he drowned at his home, which is strange. Ryo also gets admitted after becoming very sick. Kanade asks Ryo's parents to go home and rest, as she would stay the night with him. That night, Kanade sits next to Ryo's bed and sleeps a little. After a while, she wakes up and sees that Ryo isn't in his bed. She finds Ryo standing in front of Dr. Yamanobe's room. Kanade asks Ryo what he is doing there, to which he replies that the old man called him. Kanade becomes very confused. She enters Dr. Yamanobe's room and sees many dark spirits surrounding him. All the spirits are chanting a strange song. She becomes extremely scared and runs out of the room, taking Ryo with her, but the spirits start to chase after them. The spirits catch up and start to claw at them, but then they wake up from the nightmare. Just when Kanade starts to calm down, she sees Dr. Yamanobe's spirit emerge from under the blanket, and as it shouts that she carries the blood of dog murderers. They wake up with a start from the terrible nightmare. A nurse enters and informs them of Dr. Yamanobe's passing. On the other side, we see one of Yuma's friends standing near the tunnel. His bike breaks down. He calls other friends for help, and two of them come after a while. When they arrive, they see the broken car there, but their friend is missing. It is 2 a.m, and the call comes to the phone booth. Even though they are very scared, they still decide to receive the call and hear the same conversation they had with their friend, repeating again and again. The boys freak out, but before they can run, the booth is locked from the outside, and many spirits surround it. Water begins to seep into the booth, filling it up. The spirits keep chanting the same song that Akina was singing. Slowly, the booth fills with water and the poor boys suffocate inside, losing their lives. Back at the Morita household, we see Kanade come back home. She tries to ask her father about what it is that they are hiding from her, but he does not tell her anything, so Kanade goes to her grandfather for more information. After, she remembers that her grandmother had the ability to see the spirits too. She realizes that the gift she got came from her grandma. Kanade asks her grandfather about the Howling Village. She says that she wants to go there, but all her hopes are crushed when he says that the village now lies below the reservoir. Kanade comes outside and remembers the day she was sitting there with her grandmother and saw a man standing at a distance. She sees the same man now standing beside her near the reservoir. The man, who is named Kenji, is wearing the same clothes and looks the same age. She asks him why he has been following her, but he ignores the question and says that people with power only know how to seal things away. Kanade tells him that she was never curious about where she came from, but now she wants to know. She asks him about the Howling Village, and he takes her to show her a video recording of the village. After watching the tape, she comes to know about the gruesome and horrendous tortures that the poor villagers faced. Turns out the Howling Village was a place where the people used to live off hunting dogs. One day, a power company agent came and gave false hope to the people that they would make life easier for them, but in reality, they had ulterior motives. They wanted to force the people out of the village so that they could build a dam there. Kanade watches as the people get tortured in the film. The agents locked away the girls and spread false rumors that they copulated with dogs. She sees how the power-hungry company tortures the people who refuse to abide by them. Unable to take it anymore, she tells the man to stop, but he says that she must watch the tape so that she will not seal the secret away just like everyone else. In the video footage, she finds that her great-grandfather was one of the culprits. Suddenly, she feels a lot of scary spirits coming out of the footage, chanting "seal it away" again and again, and she runs away. On the way back home, she thinks about everything that has happened so far. She thinks about how she is related to both the victims and the... As she drives back, she suddenly sees the spirits of all three of Yuma's friends. They follow her car, and despite her desperate and scared attempts, finally catch up to her and sit inside her car. She quickly comes home and finds her mother in an extremely horrified state. She does not seem human at all. She finds the video footage recorded by Yuma, and finally reaches the bridge before 2 for the call. After answering the call, she enters the tunnel and is soon accompanied by Kenji. Together, the two enter the village. There, it seems as though they have traveled back in time. The village is broken, but not abandoned yet. They find Yuma and Kota captive in a cage, and Kanade frees them. Kenji asks Kanade for help, and she follows him to find a recently born baby boy in the next cage, with the mother senseless near the baby. Kenji tells Kanade that the village will flood very soon, so she should take the baby and go out through the tunnel. Suddenly, the mother wakes up and starts screaming for her baby. She shouts at Kanade to give back her baby, while Kenji holds the woman and shouts at Kanade to take the baby away and make sure that she survives, as this baby will be the last hope to carry the bloodline of the village. Kanade quickly runs down with Yuma and Kota and starts running out of the haunted place. Back in the cage, the mother, in her rage, transforms into a bloody demon and chases after the group. Yuma watches her and decides to sacrifice himself for his siblings. He tells them to quickly run out as he goes to stop the demon from chasing them. The ferocious demon attacks Yuma, but he keeps holding on. Yuma and Kenji stop the demon, while Kota and Kanade, with the boy, finally manage to escape the howling village. They run out and fall unconscious before a house. We see the baby getting picked up by a small boy, and it looks like the timeline has split here, with the baby getting found in a place that is in the past, while Kanade and Kota are found by their grandfather in the present. Sometime later, Kanade wakes up in a hospital with her little brother Kota. She tells him that if it were not for the baby that they saved, they might not have been born at all. Turns out the baby they saved was their grandmother. A few days later, Yuma's body gets found in the reservoir with 2 rotten skeletons attached to it. It is easy to understand that the other 2 skeletons are Kenji and Maya, the demon-turned-mother. On the other side, we see Kota with his father, who has become more soft and loving towards his wife than before. Meanwhile, Ryo finally gets discharged from the hospital. He tells Kanade that his mother told him to say hello to his friend. Turns out, his mother was also from the Howling Village. He looks back while walking away, and we see his eyes turn pitch black. The camera pans in on Kanade, and we see her teeth form fangs, and her eyes turn pitch black. Despite all the hints thrown here and there throughout the movie, it is still hard to deduce at the end whether the women of the Howling Village really mated with dogs or not.